Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. My name is Joshua Breitbart. I'm the Senior Vice President for Connect All. I'm a bit under the weather today, so I'm just going to provide a brief introduction to Connect All and then hand it over to members of our consulting team who've been supporting us through this challenge process. So again, this is an introduction to how you can participate in our challenge process. This is really a critical process because this is really the last chance we have to get the map of eligible locations exactly right and take advantage of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity of federal funding and support from our state legislature to bring broadband service to locations in the state that do not have service. I'll provide a welcome and an overview of Connect All for any of you who are not familiar with our office. I will hand it over to provide an overview of the challenge process. Then we'll do a demo of the challenge portal, and then we'll have a Q&A and discussion. By the end of this session, we really would like everybody to be registered on that forum, on the portal. So that's your immediate action item for today. So we'll be, this is really an opportunity. We've been using these forums to engage with stakeholders from across the state. We use these as opportunities to share information, provide technical assistance, and continue to gather input on the rollout of our programs. We've covered a number of topics, and today, as I said, we're covering the broadband challenge process. This is the formal process approved by the National Telecommunications Information Administration to confirm or challenge the status of every location in the state of New York in terms of its eligibility to receive funding under the Broadband Equity, Access, and Deployment Program. Next slide. Just so you know that we are recording this session. The recording and the slides will be emailed out to all participants, and we will post it on our website. You can also see our past forums on our website. If you have questions that you want us to address in the Q&A section today, please use the Q&A function. You can also look at those questions there and upvote questions that other participants have submitted. And we'll either address those in the Q&A or we will have an opportunity to follow up with information on our website when we email information out to you. As we go through the presentation, we'll put important links and other information into the meeting chat. And we'll also include all of those links in the email when we send it out. So everything that you're seeing today will be available to you in an email and on our website. Next slide. So again, I'm Joshua Breitbart, Senior Vice President for Connect All, and lead the New York State Broadband Office. Joined today by Mark Tettenborn, who's our Director of Research and Data Analysis, Rose Veland, who's our Program Manager for Outreach at Connect All, Jason Aloya, who's the Head of Product Platform with Ready.net, which is the team that's provided us the underlying platform and software to run the challenge process that they've been supporting in a number of states. And Kat Lau, Director of Broadband and Digital Equity at HRNA Advisors, which is our consultant team that's been helping us really since day one of Connect All, standing up all of our broadband programs. So they'll be sharing the links in the chat, providing the presentations, and here to answer your Q&A. And thank you to them for the work they've done to put this together and get us through to the approval and be able to launch this process. And next slide. So as I said, I'll provide an overview of Connect All. Next slide. Connect All is Governor Hochul's initiative to transform New York's digital infrastructure, build a robust broadband marketplace, and bring affordable, reliable, high-speed internet service to all New Yorkers. We are stewarding over $1.3 billion in public funding, and the governor's mandate with the authorization of the legislature, the New York State Wired Act, includes 5 signature programs. Connect All deployment program, and that's really what we're focused on today, which is our implementation of the federal Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program to address all unserved and underserved locations in the state. We also have our Affordable Housing Connectivity Program, and the application window for that is open to address retrofits of affordable public housing across the state. Our Digital Equity Program, and you can read our digital equity plan on our website. And we're looking forward to federal funding to support that implementation. Connectivity innovation, which will be getting underway this year to support new models to address unserved and underserved areas, and new technologies and business models to meet underserved areas of the state. And our municipal infrastructure program to invest in publicly owned and publicly controlled infrastructure, and applications for that. We are processing applications were submitted under phase 1, and phase 2 is coming up in April. So please check our website for more information about those programs. Next slide. So as I said, we have 3 main goals with our, as authorized by the legislature in the Wired Broadband Act. The first goal is to connect all residents and businesses to high-speed, reliable, and affordable broadband. So that's a key part of what we're working on today. Really addressing the current count is about 95,000 locations that do not have high-speed internet service connected. And so that's the focus of this program. We also have a mandate to establish and develop a robust and competitive internet marketplace to equitably support economic development and benefit New Yorkers with consumer choice across the state. And then third, we are part of and working with many of you all in local government, tribal government, nonprofit, and academic sectors as part of a statewide mobilization, collaboration of coalitions to end the digital divide in the state. Next slide. Just to break down a bit, that $1.3 billion of public funding that I mentioned, it comes from 4 programs, 2 of which are part of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Today, we're focused on the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program and the implementation funding of $646 million that's available to us under that program. That will be available for implementation next year after we go through the challenge process and the grant awards process this year. We also have, as I mentioned, the State Digital Equity Program, where we expect to receive $40 million or more from National Telecommunications and Information Administration later this year. We are also implementing $345 million from the Coronavirus Capital Project Fund under the American Rescue Plan Act. That's a partnership with the Department of Treasury, supporting the Affordable Housing Connectivity Program and the Municipal Infrastructure Program I described. And then the 2022 executive budget appropriated $300 million for Connect All, which is really critically important because it gives us some of the flexibility to work through the federal rules. And even if any location can't be served or is constrained by the BEAD rules, we have those state resources to draw on, as well as to support a number of other key initiatives that we'll be rolling out this year. So thank you very much to our congressional delegation for supporting the federal funding, and to our state legislature for appropriating those state funds. Next slide. So now I will hand it over to Kat Lau to provide an overview of the challenge process. Thank you, Kat.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Josh. As he said, my name is Kat Lau. I am a director with the Broadband and Digital Equity team at HRNA Advisors, and we've been supporting the Connect All office throughout their implementation of the challenge process. So during this section of the presentation, I'm going to go through kind of some big picture background on where the challenge process, what it is, what the purpose is, and where it fits into our overall program timelines. And then I'll get into more of the nuts and bolts of who's eligible to participate and how you can go about doing that. So to start, zooming out a bit, the Connect All Deployment Program is one of the signature programs that Josh talked about earlier. This is Connect All's program to address unserved and underserved locations in the state. And Connect All has just shy of $700 million total to connect those locations. We are determining funding eligibility based on the FCC's National Broadband Map and designations of unserved and underserved locations on that map. So as of the start of our challenge process, our current data shows approximately 95,000 total unserved and underserved locations across the state. These are shown in the map on the left. And the purpose of the challenge process is for us to refine that list and work with local stakeholders to confirm the data that the FCC has to make sure that we end up with the most accurate possible list of unserved and underserved locations to go out and serve. This process of arriving at that final confirmed list has been a multi-month, multi-step process. The challenge process is really just the last piece of it, but just to touch briefly on the steps that have come before this, Connect All started out by pulling a preliminary location list based on the FCC map, and then went through a data collection and outreach effort to identify community anchor institutions, or CAIs. I'll come back to this process slide in a second, but just to zoom in quickly on the CAI piece. I won't read through this entire slide, but this is the definition that the state is working with for community anchor institutions. And recognizing the important role that these institutions play in our communities, NTIA has established as a priority through this program, connecting these types of institutions with high-speed broadband service, specifically gigabit symmetrical service. And so that's a priority Connect All shares. Oh, go ahead.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. I think the slides are not progressing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me make sure that is updated. There we go. Can you see my slide now?
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. So let me go back just a little bit. Sorry about that. Okay, so this was that map that I was referring to for the Connect All Deployment Program of unserved and underserved locations. This is a brief overview of the multi-step process we're going through to refine our list, and just pausing briefly on the CAI definition. So, as I was saying, NTA has established a priority of connecting CAIs with gigabit symmetrical broadband service. That's a priority Connect All shares, and so as Connect All has been designing the grant process, the state will be prioritizing projects that can demonstrate that they will be able to connect CAIs within the project area with high-speed service. So confirming our list of CAIs is very important. I'm going to touch on a public comment process that we're in right now, but also through the challenge process, challenging and correcting our list of CAIs is going to be a big piece of that. And then just going back to that process overview. So following the exercise of identifying the community anchor institutions, Connect All also went through a data collection and outreach effort to identify existing broadband deployment commitments throughout the state. So these are federal, state, regional, county, and local programs where ISPs have already made plans or commitments to deploy broadband in the near future. So if we find out that a program like that exists, we've removed those locations from our funding list as well, so as not to duplicate efforts. Additionally, we have made what are called in NTIA language pre-challenge modifications. We adopted some guidance from NTIA that allows us to consider locations that are served only by DSL technology as underserved. So we went ahead and made that modification to our list. Once all of those modifications had been made, we published the preliminary location lists, and this actually happened just earlier this week. So Connect All has posted on its website CSV files listing the location IDs of all of the served, unserved, underserved, and CAI locations that Connect All has identified throughout the state. Those are available for download, and that is also the data that is underlying the map that you will see in our challenge portal. And then now we're at this tail end of this process, getting into the challenge process, where Local and tribal governments, nonprofit organizations, and internet service providers will be submitting challenges and rebuttals along with evidence to help us correct the map. At the conclusion of this process, Connect All will make final determinations based on the evidence that's been submitted. That will result in a revised version of the location eligibility list, which we will then submit to NTIA for approval. And once NTIA approves that list, that is when we basically have the final to-do list for the Connect All deployment program. We will have the final list of unserved, underserved, and CII locations that we then have to go out and connect. Okay, so zooming in on the challenge process, there are multiple stages, and this is kind of an overview of the timeline of what's going to be happening over the next few months. So we are currently in a public comment submission phase, which I'll get into a little more detail on in a second. But this started in February and is running until April 11th. Members of the general public are able to submit public comments to let us know about their broadband service. They can take speed tests as well and upload evidence. All of that information lives in the portal and can be viewed by government and nonprofit challengers who may choose to take a public comment and actually submit it as a formal challenge. We are now at the very beginning of the second phase here, the challenge submission window, which will run until April 18th. So in addition to government and nonprofits reviewing and potentially submitting public comments as challenges, those entities and ISPs are also able to go into the portal and submit their own challenges. Connect All will be reviewing those challenges as they come in. And in late April, we anticipate opening up our rebuttal window. During this time, if you're an ISP who has received a challenge on your service, you will be able to rebut that challenge and provide evidence demonstrating, evidence countering the details of the challenge. And additionally, any challenges that are not lodged against any specific entity will be open in the portal for any registered participant in the process to submit rebuttals. After that point, when challenges and rebuttals have been submitted, we'll get into final adjudication. And during this time, Connect All will be reviewing all of the evidence that's been submitted for the challenges and the rebuttals and making final decisions to arrive at that revised list, which, as I said before, gets submitted to NTIA. So just to zoom in briefly on the first two steps of this timeline, first talking about public comment. Again, this is an opportunity for members of the general public to get involved in the process. So there are a few different categories of comment that they're able to submit. These comments will be visible on the back end of the portal to government and nonprofit challengers who are registered. And we are trying to encourage as much participation in this process as possible. So any stakeholders that you are connected with that you might be able to encourage to participate, we have created an outreach toolkit that is available on the Connect All website. And that includes some materials that you can use to let folks know about the public comment process. And again, that'll be open until April 11th. It closes just slightly before the challenge submission window so that our challengers have an opportunity to actually review the public comments before the challenge deadline. And then the challenge process itself, again, it's open until April 18th. And you can register now if you have not already. The challenge portal website is register.broadband.ny.gov. Eligible challengers are units of local or tribal government, nonprofit organizations, and internet service providers. If you are on this session and you do not represent one of those organizations, though, you still can participate in the public comment process. So would still encourage you to visit register.broadband.ny.gov and get involved in whichever way is most relevant to the type of organization you represent. This webinar, of course, is providing some details on how to participate in this whole process, but we also want to refer folks to our BEAD Initial Proposal Volume 1 and our Challenge Process User Guide. These are both available on the portal website itself and as well as at Connect All's website, broadband.ny.gov. And the user guide specifically has step-by-step instructions for how to submit every type of challenge. We're going to see a walkthrough of that during the demo in just a moment. But if in doubt, as you're actually going through the process of submitting your own challenges, the user guide will be a great first resource to check out. Now, how to get registered if you have not done this already, it's very easy. It'll take you just a couple minutes, but you will go to that portal website and you'll just need to provide some basic information about your organization. You'll need the entity's name and website, your own contact name, email, phone, the organization's EIN, physical address, and for ISPs, you will need your FCC registration number, as well as proof of registration with the Secretary of State. There is an additional optional field to upload more documentation to verify your identity if there's other material you think would be relevant. But we actually do need to verify every organization in the portal and in order to ensure that only the eligible organizations are the ones participating. So please give us as much information as you can to help us make that review quick. And since we do have to do that review, your application, you're not going to get access to the portal immediately. It could take a day or two. So all the more reason to do that early if you haven't already. And one additional note, we do recommend that if your organization has multiple people who are going to be participating in the challenge process, that your primary point of contact be the first one to register. Once they are approved, they will be able to invite additional team members from your organization to join them in the portal. So that'll be the most streamlined way to get everyone in. Additionally, you may choose to request a CostQuest license as well. The Connect All challenge process is based on the FCC's map fabric. Unfortunately, we are not able to share that underlying raw data with external parties due to licensing restrictions. So if there are challengers who want to access the FCC fabric, they can apply for a license that's at no cost to them. It is not required to file challenges or to participate in this process, but it may simplify things for you if you are planning to do bulk challenge submissions, hundreds of locations, or if you want to do your own GIS analysis to identify the locations to challenge. So we have heard that this process can take a couple of weeks to get approved. So similar to signing up for the portal, the sooner the better. Request this ASAP if you do plan to use it. More information is available at the NTIA website listed here. And that is the site through which you will actually request the license. So that's unfortunately an independent process that Connect All does not control. So we're not able to expedite that. So if you do plan to take advantage of this option, again, recommend that request go in ASAP. Now, this is a brief overview of the different types of challenges in the portal. Again, I won't read through this entire slide, but these are detailed further in our initial proposal, volume 1, and our user guide. Challenges generally fall into 3 big buckets. The first set of these, availability, existing service, speed, latency, data cap technology, and business service only. All of those are essentially you telling Connect All that something we have in the map is not correct, right? Whether there is or isn't service, the speed of the service, the technology listed, those are all different corrections you can make to our data. The second bucket of challenges, enforceable commitments and planned service. That is to let us know that there is already an existing plan for broadband to be deployed to this location, and therefore we should take it off of our list to avoid duplication of efforts, like I was mentioning earlier. And then the last category is all to do with CAIs. So as I said, Connect All will be prioritizing projects that include connections to CAIs. So it's important for us to make sure that we have the right list of those. So you can tell us if a CAI is missing from the list, if there's something on Connect All's list that should be taken off because it's not a CAI, or if the information we have about the current service that the CAI has access to is incorrect. So again, more details on all of these challenge types. If you want to get into the nitty gritty, you can refer to our initial proposal, volume 1, and our user guide. And a couple special case challenges to highlight here. Connect All will be adjudicating area and multiple dwelling unit challenges. So an area challenge is when 6 or more locations within a single census block and for a single provider are challenged. And essentially that will trigger a challenge for the whole census block group. And we will request rebuttal information from the ISP to determine that they serve all the locations in that census block group. Or if you only serve part of the census block group, we will ask for which locations within the census block group. An MDU challenge in a multiple dwelling unit, that's essentially the same concept, just on the smaller scale of a building. So within a multiple dwelling unit, at least 3 residential units or 10% of the total unit count, whichever's higher, will trigger a challenge for the entire MDU. Again, I would refer folks to the initial proposal, volume 1, and the user guide for details on these challenge types, but these are going to be triggered automatically if we receive individual challenges that meet these thresholds. Okay, so with that, I will pass it over to my colleague, Jason, who's going to take us through the portal itself, which is really the meat and potatoes of this presentation. So he's going to show us how just generally.
So what happens next in the portal? As I mentioned, there's phases as defined in initial proposal volume 1. Connect All will be where we are now, accepting submissions through the portal. That timeline will persist through April 18th. And you can expect on the portal different status designations during that period of time. You will see that your challenge is in a challenge state. That only means that it's been submitted. That status might change to revision requested. That's an indication that Connect All needs some additional information from you before they can pass the challenge into initial review. And once your requested revisions have been submitted, you'll see the status change to changes submitted. The following process steps are is a period of time where Connect All will continue to review the challenge submissions that come in at the very tail end of the challenge period. That provides Connect All some time to review the quality of the evidence, make sure that the challenges are in fact viable challenges, and just do some what we call initial review processing. So that will be a period of time of Connect All initial review activity prior to moving on to process step 3, which is the rebuttal phase. As we move into that phase, email notifications will go out and keep all challengers apprised of exactly where we are in the Connect All challenge process. And again, you will receive notifications if your entity has received challenges that may require a rebuttal of any sort. Finally, on process step 4, that is after the close of the rebuttal period, and Connect All makes the final determinations based on all of the evidence, both in the challenge submission and any rebuttals that may have been submitted.
Great. And just a few recommendations to ensure success in this process. Register early. As we said, the challenge portal is already open. It'll just take a couple minutes to register. We encourage you to do that as soon as possible. Similarly, if you were requesting a CostQuest license, do so as soon as possible. Again, we have heard that process can take up to a couple of weeks. So if you plan to use that to support your participation in this challenge process, then definitely get those requests in. Reach out if you need help. This webinar is just the first of a number of resources Connect All will be putting out throughout this process. We're going to be having another webinar like this prior to the opening of the rebuttal period, and we will also be having weekly office hours throughout this whole period. Outside of those venues, you can also always reach out to the Connect All office via this email address, challenge@esd.ny.gov. And if you have any technical issues with the portal itself, the Ready team is able to support as well via NY Help Desk at ready.net. So we are definitely here to help. We want to make sure everyone is able to fully participate in the process. So definitely don't be shy. And lastly, submit your challenges as early as you can. Early submission will provide us with more opportunity to review, get back to you with any requests for revision before the challenge submission window closes. And in general, will help ensure the entire challenge process stays on track. So definitely, as soon as you are ready to submit, we encourage you to do so that we can get those reviews going and get back to you if we need to. Okay, so with that, we're going to go into Q&A and discussion. And I know there have been a number of questions coming in through the Q&A. Definitely feel free to send more as we go through this. We have, I think, about 10 minutes for this period. I will start just with a couple of questions that have come in regarding what types of evidence are acceptable. So I'm going to actually switch the screen share to just show another window real quick. And this is our challenge process user guide. This is available at our website, broadband.ny.gov, as well as on the portal website. And this is a very detailed document. You can see I'm scrolling through, there's like tons of pages. But specifically, we have very detailed instructions here on all of the evidence and documentation requirements for every single type of challenge. So you will see in here a detailed table. The piece I was on right when I opened this window was for availability challenges specifically. But here we show what are the acceptable evidence types for challenges and rebuttals. And this hopefully will provide good guidance on what you can upload. The portal also includes some guidance on this. So as you're clicking through each challenge type, the actual prompts that are asking you to upload files will include some instruction as well. But if in doubt, I would refer everyone to the user guide here. And again, this is available at broadband.ny.gov as well as register.broadband.ny.gov, which is our challenge portal website. So with that, let me just resolve those two questions here. Jason, maybe I can tee up this question for you, or actually you're already typing, but maybe I can put you on the spot to answer it live. Related to our maximum number of locations per challenge being at 100, if someone wants to challenge more than 100 locations, what's the best way to do that?
So the best way to do that for locations that are not CAIs or MDUs is to simply submit multiple challenges with the appropriate evidence. And if you need to cut up the equivalent of a single challenge into multiple challenges, that is perfectly acceptable. So if you have an area that you want to challenge that is beyond the max limit of 100 locations, create multiple challenges. For the second part of this question, for example, CAIs, the answer is different. The portal only supports single location CAI and MDU challenges. This is a function of the reality of the data. CAIs may or may not have a fabric location ID. This is as per the policies allowed in as defined by NTIA. And so since not all CAIs have a fabric location ID, it prevents us from supporting bulk CAI challenges. So you will have to create a different challenge, a unique challenge for each CAI. And the same is true for MDUs, which require evidence at the unit level. And since units are not the same across multiple dwelling units, then we again require that MDU challenges are single location challenges.
Great, thank you, Jason. Next, maybe Mark from the Connect All team, can I put you on the spot to answer this question about non-federal programs that we have incorporated into our deduplication process? The question is, are state programs, i.e. New York Broadband, already denoted as funded via an enforceable commitment? The user guide seems to denote that federal programs were deduplicated. We're curious on non-federal programs.
Sure, thanks, Kat. So the answer to that is, in general, where we know about state or local programs, we have denoted those as enforceable commitments in the map. On New York specifically, we are working through some issues kind of in understanding exactly which locations are subject to those commitments. So that is not denoted as an enforceable commitment in the map. So we would certainly encourage providers where they've completed their obligation under that program and served locations to challenge any locations that are still showing as unserved in the map, or if there is an ongoing obligation to submit an enforceable commitment challenge.
Mark, let me just add a note to that. This is Josh. Just to emphasize, if something has been built under an enforceable commitment, you should challenge it not as an enforceable commitment, but as it having service. If something does not have service now, but is subject to an enforceable commitment to be built in the future, then you should submit an enforceable commitment challenge.
Yes, and in that first scenario that Josh mentioned, if something's been built already, that would be an existing service challenge. That's how that will show up in the portal, so you can submit that type. Great, and then
sorry, Kat, Mark,
oh, go ahead.
Mark, could you also give a brief overview, because we put another resource on our site, because we understand that some of you providers, and I know this is the ISP forum, sorry for having the wrong opening slide before, but we put a resource on our site to connect information on the on locations that we may be concerned are not actual broadband serviceable locations. We are not allowed through this program to make those modifications on the FCC map, but we are using that form on our website to collect information that you may have on a location that may not be actually a structure, or may not have electricity, something that adds to your concern of its classification as a broadband serviceable location. So again, you can't challenge that through the platform. But Mark, can you share some information about the spreadsheet that we've put up on our website to provide information to us?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as Josh said, we have a simple Excel spreadsheet template up on our website, which is available on the same page. I think Kat's navigating to it now there, so it's on our challenge process website, so you can just download the form there. It'll ask for location ID of a location you have a concern about. It'll ask for the reason why you believe it may not be correctly designated as BSL. There's another reason for concern, with drop-down menus of several types there, and also another option if it's a different reason which we haven't accounted for. And we also ask for, if possible, to provide some more details on why you believe the concern and what evidence you have that that's the case. So if you can complete that and then just return it to me, and also if you've got any questions, then feel free to reach out.
Thank you, Josh and Mark. There was a question on this topic in the Q&A, so I'm just, in response to that, I'm going to post the link directly to this page for anyone who does have locations of concern like that you want to share information with Connect All on. So thank you. All right, let's see. All right, I'm seeing a question for revisions. How soon after submitting challenges would we expect to get a notification of the need for revisions? Connect All is going to be reviewing the challenges on a rolling basis as they come in. We hope to be able to turn around any requests for revisions within a few days or a week at most, but unfortunately can't commit to hard turnaround times on that, since it's a little difficult to predict the volume of challenges we may be reviewing at any given time. So I think that's why the fourth recommendation on that kind of tips and tricks slide is our probably strongest one, which is just submit as early as you can. It is going to be difficult for ConnectAll to get through, a huge backlog if everything comes in just at the last minute. And we do want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to make revisions. So please do submit early. We will try to get to those as soon as possible. That's unfortunately the best answer I can give right now, not knowing what the full quantity will be. Let's see. Also, another question here: to avoid duplicating work someone's already doing in our area, can we find out who's registered in our region? Generally speaking, we are not making challengers, registered challengers, visible to each other. But if you have a specific concern about your area, I would recommend that you reach out to challenge@esd.ny.gov, and we'll see what information we can share with you that might help streamline and coordinate the work you're doing. And then just a question that just came in. Can you go over the timeline again? Yes, absolutely. Let me just flip back to that slide. And we can show what that looks like. Here we go. So this is our challenge process timeline. We're currently in both the public comment phase and the challenge submission phase. So again, public comment opened in February, is going to be closing.
Sorry, it's not up.
Oh, I'm still on the ConnectAll website. Apologies. There it is. So public comment will run until April 11th. Challenge submission period just opened this week and will run until April 18th. We are preserving a little bit of time between challenges and rebuttals so that ConnectAll can complete all of those initial challenge reviews, but we anticipate late April being the launch of our rebuttal submission period. That'll be a month. And after that period closes, then that will be kind of the end of the active participation for our challengers, but that's when ConnectAll will go into its final adjudication period. And we anticipate submission to NTIA in early July. Mark, Jason, any questions currently in the queue that you want to speak to specifically?
There is a question related to the shockingly short timeline. That timeline is really dictated by NTIA policy. So there is little latitude, and there is no possibility for changing the challenge submission timeline. It is a hard requirement.
Yes, unfortunately, it is a quick turnaround, but we will definitely, as shown on this slide, lots of resources to support you in navigating this process. So we just have a couple minutes left here. So if we didn't get to your question, we have the record of all of the Q&A. So we will make note of all of those and follow up as necessary. Just to recap on the calls to action here, do register to participate on the portal if you haven't already. The website is on the slide here again, register.broadband.ny.gov, and you can use the QR code as well. As our public comment period continues into mid-April, definitely want to continue to encourage participation there. So feel free to leverage the outreach toolkit that's available on our website. And we will be having more support sessions here. So I mentioned in April, we'll be having another webinar focused on the rebuttal process before that opens. And additionally, we will be having weekly office hours where you can come and ask any questions that you have, troubleshoot any issues you're identifying, and we can get into a little bit more detail on any trouble that's coming up that's specific to your organization. So more information about those sessions and how to sign up will come to you via email after this webinar. And then in between those sessions, again, always available to support, email the Connect All office at challenge@esd.ny.gov, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. So with that, I think we will wrap up here. I want to thank everyone for their time, for joining today. Thank all of my colleagues here at the Connect All office and Jason from Ready for your support during this presentation and in the Q&A. Again, the recording and slides from this presentation will be shared around with you via email as well as posted on the Connect All website. So hopefully this can remain a helpful resource to you in the future. Keep an eye out in email for information about the future sessions and the office hours. And again, feel free to reach out at any time at challenge@esd.ny.gov. Thanks so much to everyone. Thank you for your interest in participating in the challenge process. And thank you in advance for your help refining and correcting our list so that we arrive at the best possible deployment program. And with that, I think we'll close it out. So thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your day.